Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am Mr. Warren Hayes and I am joined by a sliver of a man, apparently. If you're joining us live right now on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, you currently see only a bit of a fraction of the man who is also known as JPQ, also known as Big Paws on a Pup, host, owner, operator, developer, creator of the podcast known as No Particular Angle. John, how are you doing?
Help, Warren's keeping me in the dark.
Oh, man. What a rousing start. And the crazy thing is that, we've sort of fixed everything. We do a little rehearsal beforehand, try to get everything all nice and proper before we start. And look at what happens here. So, John, while I fix up this little slight technical snafu here, why don't you tell the good folks about what you do in case they don't know who you are?
Great. I host a show called No Particular Angle. Drops every Wednesday night. I should say Wednesday during the day. Idea is that we talk, I bring guests on, we have interviews, and we kind of speculate out on different storylines across the wrestling industry. So it's no wrestling promotion specifically, a little bit of insight into what other people are doing. We do talk WWE as well, and we try to find storylines that are worth talking about and then kind of shake out over the course of 1 week, 3 weeks, 3 months, where we think these storylines are headed. I do that every Wednesday as well as every Tuesday. I do a on the card a podcast where we talk everything non-WWE wrestling, including Stardom, which if you haven't, please check out Stardom. #watch Stardom. So
that's your campaign right now. That's
definitely
what you're on.
It's gonna be a thing.
It is going to be a thing eventually, right? Eventually, it's going to be something. But as long as you keep talking about it the way you do, and your show is a lot about speculation and trying to figure things out. And of course, we are going to speculate right now about WWE Fastlane. That's what we're egging on towards. This is what we're heading into. Big pay-per-view this weekend, the last stop on the road to WrestleMania. And we've already got, people joining us live, John, in the chat. You're a regular to my chat. You're a mod. You're a good friend. You're a fellow. You're part of the fellowship of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show.
That's right.
And we've got, a bunch of familiar faces. John Baez is here. Blaine, Kristen Ashley of divadirt.com. We also have Mr. Fretz, who's here as well. A whole bunch of regular. Robert Larry, who was actually the first to pop up in the chat. So it's very heartwarming. And of course, if you're watching this live, feel free to tweet the link out, send it out into social media. That's always fantastic. Feel free to thumbs up the video. YouTube likes that. Makes me look good. Makes everyone look good. And then if you can always listen to this audio afterwards as well, or watch the video on demand and listen to the audio on your favorite podcast platform. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you're listening. The important thing is that you are listening. That's pretty much it. And that's what WWE hopes we will be doing this weekend with WWE Fastlane. Before we actually get to the matches themselves, John, I like to talk about, the build-up and stuff, and as we go along. And I'm going to be honest, not that I'm not usually, just to throw that out there.
Because I'm a liar.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm a compulsive liar unless I preface it. Fastlane this year, well, not Fastlane this year, but Fastlane, the booking of the show feels, I don't know what, it feels really hot-shotted. What do you think?
I kind of like it, which is a little weird because
I'm not saying I don't like it. I said it feels hot-shotted.
It is hot-shotted. I feel like usually by this point in the year going into WrestleMania, we kind of have the card figured out. We kind of know where they're headed. through Royal Rumble and the road to WrestleMania. And this is kind of one of those quick payoff pay-per-views that then helps to kind of cement where they're headed. And then we got the run or the chase down to WrestleMania. And this year, because it is, what's the best word? It's a little, tape and glued together from a pay-per-view perspective, that it kind of keeping me on my toes with what the actual card's going to look like outside of your, Rollins, Brock, and your triple threat Raw Championship match and things of that nature. So I'm interested in where they go and the decisions they make. I always have where I think they should go. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun Sunday to see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Everything just felt really thrown together, and like you said, part of one of the reasons why we like wrestling so much is the unpredictability. Like I've said it before, I'll say it again. I like to do prediction shows. I like to give out my opinions and figure how things work out, but I much prefer to be wrong, in most circumstances, because I kind of want that unexpected feeling. And there's a couple of matches on this card here where the outcomes you're kind of like, well, they could go a couple of ways here. So yeah, I am, curious on your level as well, but I can't help but wonder or feel like, because we know the tale by now. We've been watching wrestling long enough. Vince McMahon deciding 24 hours or even a few hours before any show, we're going to do this instead. There's always that factor that pops in and that kind of gets to me. Where you're like, well, is it? Are we doing the unpredictability thing, or is it coming across as unpredictability because backstage they don't quite know what they're doing?
Right. Yeah. And with Pritchard being back in a power position in the creative role, are we going to see what we are used to seeing, or are things going to turn? Are they going to get different? Time will tell.
Time will tell. I want to just say hello to Scott Frame, who's watching the Mr. Warren Hayes show live for the first time. Scott, I'll be gentle. Thank you for being here. Okay, so, but there are things that have happened on the fast lane to fast lane,
yeah.
Or something.
The carpool lane.
Yeah, exactly. The service road to fast lane.
That's right.
First and foremost, the return of Roman Reigns. Which is incredible news. Like you couldn't ask for a more wonderful outcome in this situation. That's fantastic. However, if we're going to detach from our very warm feelings and best sentiments towards Roman and his current health, do you feel that his coming back sort of took away from Seth Rollins and his feud with Brock Lesnar, which is currently the one of the bigger matches, if not the biggest match? We can argue about that later on WrestleMania. It's for the Universal title. It's Brock Lesnar. Do you think it sort of took a bit away from that?
I think you could make that case. I guess kind of where I stand on it is that you don't really know what dates Brock Lesnar was or wasn't supposed to work leading into Fastlane. So to have a filler and to have that filler be Roman Reigns coming back, I think the good outweighs the risk of people of Seth Rollins losing his momentum, right? So I think that's something that I look at as a positive. I don't know how much over the last 2 weeks, even 2 weeks probably after Fastlane, that I could have withstand Paul Heyman versus Seth Rollins in a promo war. So for Brock to be there, Brock, I mean, he made his statement. He gave, 5 F5s to Rollins?
Yeah, something like that.
After Rumble, right? So, we kind of know where that is. We kind of know where that's going. I'm more interested to see what they do with Roman Reigns on the road to WrestleMania and where they eventually slot him in on the card. But, yes, it is a takeaway. They are taking away from the Rollins Brock feud, but at the same time, it's for a good reason. So I don't really really pay attention to that side of it as much. If that makes sense.
No, and I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm 100% behind you, because I think that had this been 8 weeks of strictly Seth and Brock, like you said, not knowing when Brock is going to show up, Paul Heyman, bless his heart, for all his capacity of being a proper, legitimate hype man, there's only so much he can do. And, his promos do, once in a while, he'll break his mold, but they do follow a certain path, right? Mm-hmm. So, we do get to a point where we would have gotten to a point where we're like, no, listen, we're sick of Seth and Brock right now, because it just doesn't work. I like that they addressed it on Monday, like Roman saying, yeah, you know what? I never lost the title. Yep. Maybe I'd be in line for a shot, but dude, this is your time. And this is like a nice diversion to WrestleMania. And I think it's really smart booking. It's like, the trajectory is still there. The Targaryens are still going to try and conquer Westeros, right? Right. But in the meantime, they're gonna go. It's gonna go like this. They're gonna meet up with Jon Snow and all of that. But the target is still there. Yeah. So I think it's good booking. It's smart, and it does keep it from just being overloading or it's underloading, maybe, because we would have seen too much of Seth trying to carry this angle all by himself. And we've seen, I know you want to jump in here, but
no, you're okay.
But we've seen in the past people having to carry Universal title angles by themselves. Roman by himself, because Brock shows up once every 3 or 4 weeks. It's not good business ultimately, because you're scrambling to try and find something to do with Roman that doesn't detract, I should say, from the Universal title picture, and it gets really, really complicated.
Yep. Yeah, I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. I think anytime that you can get away from a storyline that you're building for 2 months, that's a win, right? And they're showing that they're doing it really, really well with the Raw Men's Championship, the Universal Championship, where in other aspects, say the Women's Raw Championship, they're not doing it so well.
Well, let's talk about that. What a segue! Holy shit! Wow, I'm getting shivers. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Raw Women's title, because that's another very, if not the biggest story in wrestling right now.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily want to focus on Ms. Rousey specifically. Like, she's more than capable of getting all the attention she wants, and I did a live stream about that last week. So, but I think the more interesting question here, the one thing that we have to ask ourselves, or at least that I would like to hear your thoughts on. Let's put it that way. We've had, for the past few weeks, arguably the top 3 women on the entire women's roster fighting over the belt on Raw. Now, there's a belt on Raw. There's a women's title on Raw. There's a title on SmackDown. But the 3 biggest women in the company, they're 3 legitimate superstars. Not in the WWE sense, in the legitimate Oxford Dictionary sense of superstar, are fighting over one belt on one brand, and 2 of the women who are fighting for that brand, for that belt, aren't even on the belt's brand.
Right.
And, well, before I go in too far, what do you think about this situation, John?
Well, it was a mistake. It's a mistake. I understand why they're doing it, right? And to be honest with you, all 3 women are deserving of being in this position, especially if it main events WrestleMania. Right? I take nothing away from what Charlotte means to that division, her stature within WWE. She's carried that division, in my opinion, for 2 of the last 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
So for her not to be a part of that, you can make the case that's unwelcoming. Mm-hmm. So her being there is totally fine. The problem that I have, and I have had with WWE with regards to this type of booking, this oversaturation in one match, is the fact that they can't build new stars. And you're seeing that now. They have a bona fide stud or studess in Asuka, and they can't find her an opponent. And we'll talk about what we think may or may not happen at Fastlane in a minute. But when you put all your cards on one side of the table, eventually that table is going to fall over, and that's what we're starting to see in the women's division. Is you want to keep the brand separate. You want Fox to have their own show that's highly athletic, that pushes more towards family-friendly entertainment, while you have USA Network and what NBC is doing with Raw. I'm okay with that. But if you're going to do that, you need to build stars.
Yeah.
And what you're proving when you put these three together, and again, they're far and away the best going right now, period, is you're showing how weak your being able to develop talent is, and it shows, and it's going to hurt the women's division in general as a whole on both brands because of it. Well, it's a shame.
And you know, let's push this. Well, see, all throughout last year, I was sick of the way they were booking the women's division, because they were booking a division before booking women. You know, they weren't building stars outside of 2 or 3 exceptions. They weren't building anyone that we really felt compelled to get to know, to get behind. You know, it was just like, oh, the women's division are doing this, you know, and it was always a group of women. You remember that strip of matches on Raw during most of the summer last year, where it would be you'd have 6 women tag matches, you know, over and over and over again.
It was,
and they weren't building Becky there either. You know, they had,
she came organically. The fans wanted her, and they had to respond.
Exactly. They had Charlotte that was established as a star. They established Ronda on the other side, and everyone sort of came up to be fodder. Yep. And it's what's even sadder when you consider what you're saying here, John, is that it's not really underscore. It's not even a question of like, well, let's build new stars. Let's get Mandy Rose and put her in a high profile match. It's not even that. On Raw, you have Sasha Banks and Bayley, who are established superstars, who have been in the very middle of the women's evolution, who have given everything, who were legitimate stars on NXT and on Raw. Let's not forget Sasha and Charlotte had an epic year's feud over the women's title. Was it the Raw women's title, or was it just, I don't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But
yeah, okay.
You know, they had their feud, and you sat on them. When I say you, I mean WWE Creative sat on Sasha and Bayley for a full year, not knowing what to do with them. And every time you put Sasha and Bayley in a position where you feel that they can, that they're going to do something, that they're going to accomplish something, the audience gets instantly behind them. When they started pushing Sasha in that mini feud that she had with Ronda, that you know, because Ronda has to run through the entire women's division, right? In that small moment there, people were like, fuck yeah, Sasha's back, you know? And it's the same thing when Bayley attacked Sasha last year, that one time, people went nuts. When Bayley had her match with Ronda, people went nuts. They were like, yes, Bayley can do this. They're just waiting for an opportunity, you know, to get behind them. It's not even a question of let's build stars. We already have them.
Yep. And you have them loaded in one division. And that was kind of the problem. Like, to me, and we've talked about this before with GMs and their roles and not being utilized to the fullest capacity with regards to trading talent and treating it like a sports team and bettering your staff and things like that. And I think the thing that hurt the division the most was when Ember Moon went down, because she was the only one being protected from Ronda, right? And she would have been a perfect avenue for WWE to go down if she wasn't injured, to now be on SmackDown to go up against Asuka and start the road to WrestleMania. We could have had it, right? Now we can, and injuries happen, and that's fine. But what they're showing is that once they decided to make the move and put Charlotte in this triple threat, they had no contingency plan for their SmackDown Women's champion. And if that's the case, why have the title?
Why have the title at all? Yeah, exactly. No, but that's an excellent point. That is an excellent point. But you know, we're not going to cure all these ails today. And besides, that's not what we're here for. We're here to do what wrestling fans love to do best. That is listen to Warren Hayes mess up words. We're here to talk about, we're here to predict, we're here to give speculation, give it a shape and form. Chat is very lively tonight. Lots of stuff going on. Lots of people talking about what we're talking about, so that's great. So chat, as we go along, feel free to drop in with your predictions as well. Let us know who you think is going to come out on top. You know, feel free to prove John and I wrong, especially John. I
am 100% wrong all the time.
Can't wait for the NJ Cup.
I'm not wrong about that. See you Monday.
Yeah, see you Monday, indeed. All right, let's start. Let's kick it off with the pre-show. We've got a match on the pre-show. It's going to be Rey Mysterio versus, and I still say it all in its entirety, Andrade Cien Almas. And this one is going to be on the pre-show. These guys, we know they can spin magic together. John, thoughts?
I'm still enjoying this feud. It's been going on since almost Ray's been back. You know, I think they've now had 234 matches in the last 3 months. And I'm still into it. You can see the type of talent you have in the ring when these two are going back and forth. Very creative, very smart, different bookings, different teases. Zelina's the best manager, in my opinion.
Oh, she's fantastic.
In WWE right now. She's so good. I'm okay with this match continuing, but this is where it needs to end. And it's a shame that it's on a pre-show, but I don't blame it for being on a pre-show because it's not like it's been highlighted in any type of real fashion since like a main event 5 weeks ago on SmackDown. But as a whole, it'll be nice to put some finality. I thought they were going to the payoff for this feud was going to be at WrestleMania. I can't see them continuing it past Fastlane. It's time for them to go their separate directions, and more importantly, it's time for Almas to get a good win underneath of him that really cements him as being the next guy up on the heel side in SmackDown.
I agree. I agree that this is that Almas needs a good showing. I'm going to tell you, I've had an argument with Sean Ross Sapp a couple of times. We've argued over the pre-show, and Sean maintains, and I agree with him. Sean maintains, that the pre-show is given for free. It's on YouTube. It's on social media. It's to get people to buy the pre-show, the show, but subscribe to the network. That's what they're supposed to do. And I agree with that. That's exactly why they do it. And we get into this argument because every time that a cruiserweight match ends up on a pay-per-view, it's in the pre-show, and I'm like, God damn you, why is it always on the pre-show? And Sean says, well, if you're going to want to get people excited about your product and get them to like, maybe I should subscribe, this match was fucking awesome, well, put the cruiserweights on. And where I disagree with him is that the people who aren't subscribed to the network will not be necessarily inclined to subscribe to the network if they see guys they don't know. I think you put stars on your pre-show match as opposed to high-flying action. You put names that people will remember where you're like, oh, okay. And then you'll get more of the, I hate to use this word, but the more casual audience.
Sure.
I feel my tongue feels moldy now that I said it. But then that's how you get people to subscribe. If you put, God bless them, Buddy Murphy and Akira Tozawa, God bless them, their pre-show match at Elimination Chamber was awesome. Match of the night. It was fantastic. But people are like, who are these guys? Why do I care? You put Rey Mysterio in there, and you'll have people going, wait, is this Rey Mysterio Jr.? Don't I know this guy against this other guy? And we know that Almas and Mysterio are going to be phenomenal. So this makes sense to me as a pre-show match, as opposed to just putting the cruiserweights on there. Having, it's so on that aspect, it works a lot. A lot of people in the chat right now, John, calling for Almas. Andrade, of course, haven't seen a lot of Rays. There's Peter Davies in the chat who says, my prediction is we will see a Canadian destroyer, LOL. You see, and where I'm torn here, as far as my prediction goes, I think your prediction's pretty clear. You're going with Andrade. On my end, I feel like the pre-show has to start on the pre-show has to start on a good note. Mm-hmm. You get your baby face going over. Okay. I don't think, honest to God, at this point, I don't think Almas looks like a slouch, because he's never looked like a slouch. They've never booked him as anything but strong. Let's not forget, this is the guy that, on his second match, he took AJ Styles to the limit. Still WWE champion AJ Styles. Yeah. He's had phenomenal matches with everyone. He never looks bad. He comes out looking strong regardless. And they have established this rapport between them both that they can pull out a win just like that on top of each other. It's like, whoa. So this time it could be Mysterio, not because he's necessarily better, maybe just because he got lucky this time. So honestly, so honestly, I think I'm going to go with Mysterio on this one.
I'm okay with that logic. I guess I would ask you, Warren, to the casual fan. Yeah, the casual. Does Almas come off like a bad guy to you? Like, does he really do heelish things outside of like a mean grin and having a manager who's, who does heelish things? Does he really come off to you as?
Oh yeah. I find his style is he's very aggressive. He's very much, he's very athletic. He does a lot of high flying stuff, but the way that he executes his moves are very sharp and aggressive. I do feel he comes across as a heel. I think he's a perfect heel persona. I think he's adapted to that. I think he's tailor-made to be a heel. And he's sort of added in, doing this, the Eddie Guerrero swagger, he's a bit of an asshole. He's coming off more and more,
he's smug.
Yeah, exactly. I think it works. And I think that as far as the public perception goes, if you are a casual and, you've watched wrestling even remotely in the past 10, 15, 20 years, and you're probably the crowd that the WWE wants to go get with the free pre-shows, you'll be like, oh, Rey Mysterio. Yeah, it seems I remember that guy. Wow, he can still go. And look at this guy. Wow, that was good. Hey, let's pull out a credit card and subscribe to the award-winning WWE Network. That's exactly what the casual fan does. So a lot of people thinking, I think I'm alone in picking Mysterio here. I feel alone, but that's okay. Jamie Tannick says the only reason the cruiserweights aren't on the pre-show on Sunday is because Buddy Murphy is back home in Australia on vacation, which is a shame. But then again, not a bad reasoning.
No.
All right, next match. By the way, I'm running through the matches in reverse order as how they're presented on WWE.com. So I'm not making this up as we go along. It's not like personal preference. I'm using WWE's editorial here.
We've got a board and we just throw darts at
it. That's not my style. Or is it? All right. Next match that we're going to talk about is a triple threat tag team match for the Raw tag team titles. The glorious Bobby Roode and the equally glorious Chad Gable versus the NXT call-ups, Aleister Black and Ricochet. They're going to try to take the titles off of the Revival. This is weird.
Coming back from the graphic. This is weird. Yeah, it is a bit strange, isn't it?
This is what I meant by hot-shotting. I think this is one of the couple of matches here that are the very definition of what I meant when I was talking about, oh, they're hot-shotting this card. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Revival are fantastic. Gable and Roode have evolved into something fantastic. Whereas I'm convinced at first that their tag team had been established for Bobby Roode to turn heel. I'm still holding true to that. And Aleister Black and Ricochet, well, I mean, you had to have never watched a single episode of NXT to not realize that these guys were fantastic as well. So, and they've been working really well as a tag team. Their matches have been extraordinary, the ones that they've been having on Raw, on SmackDown. There are a couple of workhorses, but it's still really weird. I don't know where to start talking about it. Did we start talking about how, despite the fact that the Revival have finally won the titles, they just feel like placeholders? Should we start with that, or am I editorializing too much?
Don't they always isn't everybody who holds the tag team title a placeholder? I mean, that title is a hot potato title, number one.
That's true.
Number two, it's not like they actually care who has the titles when they have them. So, it's not like we're getting like super good booking from our tag team.
Well, if we're the authority, John, if we're the authority and we care,
BS.
We care.
No, but it's true. I mean, I guess again, I've come to terms with having compromises with WWE with regards to their tag team division, right? So if you were to tell me post or pre SummerSlam that the match before or the pay-per-view before WrestleMania, we were going to have the Revival as champions versus Black and Ricochet versus, well, the Gable and Rude would have been a little confusing at the time. But if you would have told me prior to that we would have had that, I probably would have told you that I would have been into it. Now, how they got there was pretty confusing. It's weird, right? Yeah. Everything that happened on Monday, and then we'll just slapstick this together, and this is going to be your match. But I got to be honest with you, I'm kind of excited for it. You got 6 tremendous workers in the ring. You have guys in that ring that can do things that nobody else can do. We've got classic tag team wrestling in the Revival. We have a very good chemistry between Rude and Gable that's really come on since they had the tag titles. And then we've got just the power and the excitement and something for us with Black and Ricochet. Not to mention probably the best 2-man move taunt that I think I've ever seen in WWE with their little flip sequence. So to have those together, so I actually think this is going to be a good match. Why we're here, I don't know if I can answer that question. And I know there was some outlandish stuff out there from time to time.
Do you?
I'm not a conventional booker by any means. Right? Jim Cornette sends me DMs with obscenities regularly.
I'm sure he does.
But at this point, I look at this and I don't understand the slapstick side of it. But to me, this one could be one of those matches that we're talking about for a couple months. Right? This is one that might stick with me, depending on where they go from here. I think this is one that will stick with me. It has the potential to stick with me more than the Raw Tag Team title match at WrestleMania, right? Because of the talent that's in this match. So it's not easy to do a tag team triple threat, but if you're going to do it, these are 6 workers you can do it with.
In the chat right now, it's a bit of a half and half between the Revival and Black and Ricochet. Blaine says that this is a candidate for match of the night. And I'm in entire agreement with everything you said. It's just, listen, there are so many excellent elements in here. And, I think we have a tendency to overlook Chad Gable, who's grown into this role. Like, he's just shining, being the workhorse of the team, of his team with Rude. By the way, chat, continue to let us know who you think is going to come out on top. And the NXT guys, they've been treated very well.
Very well.
Very, very well. What do you think of them as a tag team?
I read somewhere that it should have been Finn and Ricochet, and that kind of ruined it for me.
Okay.
Before he won the IC title. So I'm happy that they're together. I look at both of them. I could see Ricochet in a tag team to kind of get his feet wet. Tommy End, though, he is a single star.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Maybe
for sure.
he'll always be a single star. So if they're introducing him this way to help get him introduced to the mainstream crowd, and this is the way they feel like they're bringing him up and they're giving him wins, and they're going to put him on a little bit of a winning streak up to this point, I'm not going to sit here and fault WWE for doing that. It's a good introduction.
It's going really, really well, and you can be damn sure. In the meantime, EC3 is backstage and is like, "Hey, put me in a tag team too."
He's looking in a mirror somewhere. He doesn't know what the hell is going on.
God damn. I mean, there were some people online that I was chatting with that were like, "Oh, why are they putting them in a tag team? They're single stars." And you know, I even think, you know, Ricochet and Aleister Black both have brilliant singles careers ahead of them.
Yeah, it's true.
But as it stands right now, if you're an NXT call up, you look at what they're doing with these two guys right now, and you're like, they all want this at this point. You know what I mean? They all want to be introduced in this fashion. And the entrances are getting over. Like, Aleister Black already is getting a huge reaction for his entrance, you know, is raising up, you know. I mean, it's crazy. I think they're doing a good job with Ricochet and Black. We'll see what happens afterwards. But as it stands right now, I feel that they're sort of bending their record of messing up NXT call-ups with these two guys. Who's your clear winner here? Your clear prediction, I should say.
My clear winner in this triple threat is the Revival, and they're going over Rude and Gable.
Same.
There it is.
Yeah, I think there might be a little... It's really, looking over the chat, it's pretty 50-50 or maybe 55-45. It's there's not a clear consensus, but I do believe the Revival are going to hang on to it. That I think so. Rude and Gable have been added in there to take the pin and protect the NXT babies.
Which is good. It's about time.
It's smart booking.
Smart booking.
Number 3rd match of the evening. Check this out.
3rd match.
SmackDown Live Women's Champion Asuka versus Mandy Rose, who is a dominant wrestler. Have you not seen this past SmackDown? She squashed Naomi like that. She's a dominant female wrestler.
Get out of here.
I want to put this out here, okay? I want to put. I'm on Mandy Rose's side. I want her to succeed. I really do. I think she has potential. I really, really, and honestly do. She works really, really hard. I've heard statistics that, as it stands right now in her career, she has wrestled more matches in her what she's been wrestling for 3-4 years, something like that, maybe a little more, 3 years. She's wrestled more matches than Tori Wilson has in her entire career.
Sure.
So, you know, she is going to continue picking up. She's going to continue learning. So I'm for her. I'm for her going forward. I'm 100% not on the Mandy Rose hate train. I'm not on it. You can pass me by, go to the next stop in the village of fuck your face. So, but as far as Mandy Rose and Asuka goes, this is bizarre. I think this goes exactly with what we were saying at first when we were talking about the women's situation. Oh, wait, Asuka. Who do we got? Who do we got for Asuka? Let Mandy give her the bond. What do you think, John?
It's a garbage match. I agree with you in the sense that I'm okay with Mandy. Mandy's okay with me. She has no business being in a match like this. She hasn't done anything. She
Yeah, but how do you build stars then if you don't put them in high profile matches? How does look? She's going to be in the ring with Asuka, okay? Which will be a learning experience for her. She will be guided. She will be brought through this. Look, this is why they're putting Kairi Sane. They're putting Io Shirai with Kairi Sane in a tag team. It's for the exact same reasons. Not because Io can't wrestle. It's because she needs to adapt to North American style. That's the thing. And they're doing it's the same idea here. If you never put women or any type of wrestler with your high-end, high-caliber, top-tier performers, you will stagnate. Maybe it's not her time right now, but at some point you do have to do it because it is a learning experience.
I don't disagree with any of that logic. I don't. Where I stand on this is, of the two in that partnership between Sonya and Mandy, Sonya would have been the better fit here for Asuka.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Right? And the fact that they didn't go with her and they're putting somebody in there that really hasn't done a lot. Again, it's not a knock on Mandy as a talent. I have no problem with Mandy as a talent. And I agree with you. You get her a little seasoning. Who knows what you got?
Yeah, and we as white people, what do we know about seasoning? Am I right? Thank you, everyone. That was the stream. Good night.
See you next time. Nah, but it's one of those things where if she it really depends on where they decide to go after this. So I have an idea of where I think they might go with it. So and if it goes that way, I'm okay with it because let's be honest, it's Fastlane. It's not like we need some high-profile match for the Women's SmackDown title. However, knowing that there isn't a clear direction for Asuka after this match, in my opinion, I'm having a hard time understanding how this helps build Mandy. Mandy won in a cheap heat type of fashion, using Sonya to get over to pin the champion to get a match at Fastlane after coming off a super weak booking, Temptation Island-esque storyline with Jey Uso and Naomi, and now she's going up against Asuka, who hasn't been on TV for 5 of the last 6 weeks. And I'm supposed to sit here and buy that with the Empress, the one that just beat. I'm supposed to accept, on SmackDown that Mandy can pin Asuka and then earn a title match after she just beat Becky clean at Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it. I can't sit here and be happy with that, right? I can sit here and say I can understand it. We can build stars, and this is just a Fastlane. Who gives a shit? I get that. I'm on board, right? Mm-hmm. It's a good thing for Mandy. But I just sit here and I look at Asuka, and ultimately this is going to be a blip on the radar, which I've been saying for 14 months now, but I'll continue to say it's going to be a blip on the radar and what Asuka's going to be in this division longer term.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just frustrating that, again, every time that they look at Asuka dead in the face, they put a question mark.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy. So it's really more about the booking than it is Mandy. I don't have a problem with Mandy as much as I do with how they got there.
Now, are you telling me that you think that Mandy might win on Sunday? Is that what you're telling me?
No, what I'm saying is, as of right now, in my opinion, Mandy is undeserving to be on the WrestleMania card. And when Asuka beats her clean in the middle of the ring, I think Sonya turns, and then we see Sonya versus Mandy at WrestleMania because you need more women on that card. And that's a feud worth seeing. And you got time to build towards it.
I agree. Well, I thought they were going to do that. You remember at Evolution, right? Sonya and Mandy were sort of like at odds with each other. I don't know if you remember around that period, around Evolution.
Right. Eye looking, I saw all that.
And then they had to bring them back together as a tag team because they needed tag teams for the tournament, for the women's tag team titles. So
yeah.
Look, this is not going to be a stellar match. That's fine. I think Asuka's going over. I think a lot of people in the chat are saying that she goes over as well. Just like Kristen Ashley puts herself over this Saturday on the Division podcast on Fightful.com. She will be giving her own predictions as far as Fastlane goes. So she's not sharing her thoughts right here. But do tune in. She's invited me as a guest as well, by the way. Fightful.com. We're recording Saturday. So then after that, it can pop up at any given moment. So there you go. So you're going with Asuka. I'm going with Asuka. Everyone's going for Asuka because, I think it's just as basic as Mandy is not ready for Asuka.
She's not ready, and you can't do a swerve. You have enough convoluted booking in WWE right now, which is fine. I guess my frustration with it really falls with, when are you going to treat Asuka seriously? When are you going to present her to the fans the way that we know that she can be treated? When that happens on a more consistent basis, then I'll be a happy camper. Until then, it's not Mandy, it's creative.
That is correct.
Right.
Next match on the card. Pew! We've got the SmackDown Live Tag Team titles. Champions the Usos versus the best team in the world. And just in case you're wondering who's in that tag team, well, it's the Miz and Shane McMahon. I'm going to cut to the chase on this one. Very, very simple. I think that this is the culmination of the best friends storyline between Shane and Miz. They are going to lose, and Miz is going to be pissed, and he's going to attack Shane McMahon after setting up their match, their inevitable match at WrestleMania. I think it was telegraphed on SmackDown this week, where Miz said beforehand, you know, we're going to be in my hometown. My dad is going to be there. I'm going to do you proud, Shane. And Shane's going to fuck it up. It's going to be on Shane. But Miz is going to be like, no, I'm done with this. Usos retain. Best tag team in the world split up. We head into WrestleMania. John.
Well, it's about time. And it's about time for it to end. I actually enjoyed it. McMiz was refreshing for Shane.
I thought their story was a lot of fun. Yeah. I really, really do. And they had great chemistry together. Yep. And well, that's what made it so much fun. Sorry?
I said the Miz is a chameleon. He can go with anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. He's so good. People don't give him enough credit for what he can do. I agree with you. I think this is the end. I think this is the build. This is the setup to get Miz and Shane to go one-on-one. I agree with you. Anytime you have a heel Miz, you have the best Miz.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
With that, I think that the dad's going to be involved somehow. I think they lose. I think it's Miz's fault. I think that Shane is sitting there after the match with that kind of that ho-de-do, like, well, I'm still a billionaire. These types of things happen. And so then he's talking to the dad outside the ring, Miz dad outside the ring, and they're both pointing at Miz inside the ring or out at ringside, and Miz takes that personally because he never gets the adulation that he's looking at. His dad look up to Shane, and then boom, that's the turn. Attacks him. I think he'll attack him the next night, and by smashing the trophy over him and him fighting him backstage, you know, kind of doing what it's doing. But I think that's where the build starts. I agree.
I'd love to see the trophy be smashed.
About time, right?
And when you think about, like, this has to happen because when you think about all these special heartfelt moments that they had all throughout the feud and the good times, and can you imagine the video package that they're going to produce for this?
That turn's great.
It just writes itself. Yeah. Folks in the chat all pretty much agree that this is that the Usos retain and that McMiz is done. I think we have consensus here, right, John? Usos retain.
So. Yep.
Yeah, of course they do. All right, moving on. Next match of the evening. For the last time ever. Not the first time we hear a last time ever on WWE TV, but nonetheless, for the last time ever, the Shield reunite to face Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, and Robert Lashley. I'm perplexed.
Okay.
Like no, but I thought that Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre, I thought they were done. Was Royal Rumble or
it was Rumble. Last paper.
Or Elimination Chamber, or because no one ran in to help Baron Corbin against Braun Strowman, and no one helped Bobby Lashley either with against Finn Balor. You know, it's like I thought these three were done, and I just feel that they were put all back together just because they want to give one last hurrah for Dean Ambrose and one last feel good moment. As far as the Shield goes, because maybe you haven't heard, chat, Dean Ambrose is not renewing his contract with WWE, or at least that's the scuttlebutt. That's what's been announced. And Roman's back. I think we just want one. They just want to book one last good feel good moment. I don't know what you think. It's just got.
I'll tell you that so before Roman came back, the marketing for Raw Philly, which just happened, was McIntyre, Ambrose, and Corbin versus Braun, Elias back when he was still a face, and Finn. Right, so things have changed since. Right, once I think they got word that Roman's coming back, they made some quick changes, quick heel turn back for Elias. You know, we give Finn the title, we bring Lashley in as the heel, and that's what led us to this. Under the context, I'm okay with it. I think ultimately, all you're doing is giving Roman a platform to showcase his talents and show everybody that he's back. I think a good win over McIntyre, a good showing against McIntyre, goes a long way for the dog to reclaim his yard,
which is what he wants to do.
Exactly. So it's as conventional booking as you can get, to be honest with you. To have a team of Lashley, Corbin, and McIntyre together again, it might as well be against the Shield, right? Like, who's going to root? I mean, not that you're going to root against Roman right now, anyway. But if you're gonna bring back the Shield for the fifth time, this is the perfect three people to do it against.
Oh, it's for perfect. Sure. I mean, it
is what it is. I can't be mad about it. But let me ask you, Warren. Is Ambrose leaving for real, you think? You think that's 100%?
I think so. I think so.
You think this is the last time we see him?
I think he's going to take some time off. I think he's, never back in a WWE ring. Nah. But I do think he's on his way out. Like, because, there's just so much you can do when you, like, I understand a lot of people are like, oh, it's work, but they're using their official PR communication, their official PR channels to communicate the fact that Dean is leaving. That they set, they use their proper channels. So there's a level of trust that exists when you're media versus these proper channels. So if you start feeding false information, then you erode the trust there, and we're eons beyond away from the Carney days, where you just say anything to get people to come in, to buy a ticket and come over. Right. Now they do have relationships with major media outlets. They being WWE, they don't want to fuck with that. I don't see why they would have put it. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I'd be like, but it would be inherently stupid as a PR stunt. That would be it'd be just stupid.
I'd like to see him leave, take some time.
Yeah, me too.
Get signed by NXT, and then he leads the NXT Revolution against the main roster.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I think that's where I'd like to see them go, because now you're not falsifying the media by him leaving, and now he just gets signed by NXT once NXT moves up into cable television or whatever 6 months from now. Right? They need more programming. So I'd like to see something like that. I'm an Ambrose guy, although he always lets me down. Always lets me down. Every time he lets me down. He never once met my expectation. Ever since the Jake won me over with the Jake the Snake segment, and not once since then has he hit the mark for me the way I expect him to. So it's change of scenery, death matches with Nick Gage. I'm okay with all that. But, man, if he goes away and comes back for NXT and leads the Revolution against the main roster, I just think that's a good way of doing it.
Chad is pretty much on the side, of course, of the Shield winning. We're talking about
yeah, they're gonna win.
Dean leaving. Mr. Fretz has an unpopular booking idea. Dean costs Shield the match, setting up something with Roman. And let's just think about this. Let's just think about this for a minute, because it's not an uninteresting booking idea. You've got nothing for Roman Reigns right now for WrestleMania. Dean, look. I talked about this on Monday. Dean rejoining his Shield brothers when you take his motivations for breaking up, for leaving, for beating up Seth and abandoning him, and he was tired of being the third wheel about Seth and Roman always doing a bit what he wants and then what they want, and then Dean would sort of like be carried through. They were doing the exact same thing here. It's like, Dean, Roman and I want to get the band back together, so you come out here, Dean, and say yes, kind of thing, you know? And then he comes out and he doesn't have much of anything to say. He has his match with Elias where he gets where he gets
again.
And they come up to him, you know, and they're like, you know, they're posturing, you know, Seth and Roman are in the ring and they're like, what are you going to do, man? Huh? What are you going to do? Come on, man. Say yes, man. And it's borderline harassment at this point. You know what I mean?
It's peer pressure at the very least.
And so I understand Dean at this point. I'm like, I understand why you told these guys to fuck off in November. I completely get it. What a couple of assholes. They just, you know, but so wouldn't it be, there'd be a really profound sense of poetry here if Mr. Fretz's idea happened and Dean cost the match, busted up Roman or something to set up. I mean, he is on his way out. And technically, you know, in wrestling history or in wrestling etiquette, that's the word I was looking for.
Right. You go out on your back.
Flat on your back as you go out. You lay down for Roman, man.
Yeah, and again, if you're gonna lay down for anybody, I mean, you're laying down for your brother.
Yeah.
I would tell you, I'm okay with that. The natural progression is to go to Roman, Drew, right? Like that seems to be
that's the natural thing. Yes,
that's the natural thing. But like, why would you burn Drew on Roman's first month back? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like if Drew's now, if they do, then you kind of know where Drew stands. And he's really not going to be that guy that we all thought he was going to be 4 months ago, right?
Well, you can actually argue that he's not the Drew that we thought he was going to be 6 months ago. Right now, with what they're doing with him, is
true. Yeah, you could. There was injuries involved. I'm willing to give him a pass. And what they've been doing, they've been keeping him right at that main event level without actually giving him the main event. And it's hard to do when you got a ceiling on it the way you do with Brock.
Yeah.
So I think I'm okay with what they've been doing with Drew. I'm not happy about it, but like I understand it. And as long as I can understand it, provided that they push him the right way later, I can get behind it. I don't have to live in the now as much with Drew McIntyre. But if they burn Drew on Roman at WrestleMania, I think that's very telling because he's not going to beat him at WrestleMania. It's very telling of what they think of Drew and what Drew's ultimately going to be, and that would be a shame. You know where I stand on this whole Shield breakup, main event WrestleMania thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a side bet with a 6-pack of Tab Soda if Roman turns on Rollins at the end of WrestleMania.
Hang on a second. Yes, but wait. Because this is a bet for those of you who may not know what we're talking about. We did have a bet on a previous occasion where JPQ and I shared a live stream together. We'll not mention the stream that we were on because it don't deserve the freebie. No, I'm just kidding. John and I, John posited that Roman would turn on Seth at WrestleMania, and I said I'll take that bet and I'll buy you a 6-pack of your favorite beverage. And am I understanding this correctly? I'm getting you Tab Cola.
It's Tab Cola.
Oh my God!
I know you're gonna have to find it.
You bet, yeah. And hopefully
it's on eBay. It's like $19.94.
Hopefully you have a pair of leotards to go with that too, and leg warmers. I'm looking forward to that.
Hey man, let's get physical.
So we're all in agreement. The Shield is winning. Chad is in agreement. Chad is having a good time tonight, and we have a bunch of new faces as well in here. I'm really excited. Thank you all for being here. Can't thank you enough. And if you're enjoying it, give us a thumbs up on the video. If you're watching us live, share the link out. And if you're listening to this on your podcast application, well, I hope it's music to your ears, even though it's not exactly music. Next match. We're getting up there. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. Now, the stakes here are simple. Or are they? If Becky wins, her suspension is lifted so she can fight at WrestleMania. And if Charlotte wins, Becky's suspension doesn't get lifted. And the match goes on at WrestleMania, Ronda versus Charlotte. Look, I had a plan for this. I had a booking plan for this, but I think the fact that Ronda Rousey's meltdown maybe changed a few things. But this is the plan that I had. Royal Rumble, Becky gets the #1 spot. Okay, she gets screwed out of it by Mr. McMahon. 60-day suspension. Mwah. Everyone's sad. We're getting Charlotte versus Ronda. We're getting teased for the triple threat. I'm not a fan of the triple threat. I'm going to tell you straight off the bat. I'm not a fan of it. If it happens, I understand why it happens. Still not a fan of it. Would have preferred to be a one-on-one match. So Becky comes back. Becky comes all the way back. She keeps doing what she's doing with the crutch, fucking shit up. Then at some point, the McMahon step in. It's like, look, we're sick of this. At Fastlane, Becky, it's you versus Charlotte. And whoever wins this match, if whoever wins this match gets the spot at WrestleMania. It's just that simple. Because right now, Charlotte doesn't have any legitimate stakes in this match. If she wins or loses, she's still in the match at WrestleMania. Sure, she'll have Becky Lynch to contend with, but to me, it's a lesser evil at that point. Because you can train, you can watch tapes, you can prepare to fight someone. But to me, the real stakes here would have been whoever wins this match fights for the Raw Women's title at WrestleMania. Becky wins and becomes the ultimate underdog babyface, the first real one that we've had in the women's division in forever. She crawled her way all the way back to the top, gets to WrestleMania, beats Ronda Rousey, and it's all been a thing about blood, sweat, and tears. Here, just last week, we're going to lift her suspension. No charges are going to be pressed. Everything has been erased in the past now. Becky, you don't have to fight anymore. Everything's okay. We're just going to hand everything back to you, which is something she didn't want in the first place. Because she didn't want to go to the doctors to get her papers because she didn't want it handed to her because she didn't trust anyone. Now they're turning around and saying, sure, we're lifting your suspension, and she's okay with it all of a sudden. She's not like, wait a minute, are you motherfuckers trying to fuck me over again? You know?
It's a good point.
I'm still happy that the women are in such a prominent position on the WrestleMania card and in our minds and in our thoughts and in our hearts. I'm glad that Becky is still getting the push that she's getting, but I cannot feel anything else right now than feel that WWE may have fucked this one up a little. Just a little. Because I feel it could have been so much better and without that much effort either. John, the floor is yours. Oh, and by the way, chat, let us know who you think is going to win, Charlotte or Becky.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't need any of this. You had it. You had it at Royal Rumble, and you could have they just could have came out and stared at each other every week for the next 8 weeks, and we would have been perfectly content with Ronda and Becky. But I mean, so they wanted to get Charlotte involved, and they come with this big convoluted story to get her involved. I think the part that annoys me the most about this match, specifically, is is Becky won the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Why does she have to defend? I mean, they're not even referencing the fact that she's defending her spot. They're just saying like, "Oh no, Charlotte's in, you're out." But like, she won the Royal Rumble.
Exactly, and it's a shock they haven't brought it back like Becky has brought it back with more fervor. It's like, right. Hey, you assholes! I beat everyone for this, and I was already on one leg, kind of thing. It's like
the rules. The rules are: I win the Rumble, I go on a WrestleMania.
It's my spot.
Right? It's like, it's my spot. You can't just take my spot away. Like, that's not how the Royal Rumble works. Anyway, so there's that whole part that drives me crazy. I think that there's got to be some more shenanigans in this. I can't imagine that they're just going to let this, that now we're going to have the slow burn the rest of the way, right? Like, if Becky wins, if Charlotte loses, I'll save my pick. But either way, like, we need more shenanigans, because anything that it's already convoluted. And if we learned anything from Daniel Bryan back in 2014 and his run through that mess, that was his WrestleMania 30 moment, is that we're not done with the train wreck. I mean, the train wreck has happened, but now we have another train coming. And if you're not looking to the right, you're going to miss it. And you're going to be surprised when, oh, by the way, Yeah, that train just hit that train wreck.
Yeah.
And that's what the next 4 or 5 weeks is going to 2 days is going to be. Is just a big cluster leading up to what ultimately will be a crowning moment for Becky, right? Organic, SummerSlam, and the people get behind her, and she has this amazing 6-month run.
I mean, there is no probable, like, this is the point. This will be the exact moment.
Right.
This moment at WrestleMania. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but this will be the moment where we will fully see and understand. We'll fully see if WWE has indeed learned from its past mistakes. Because if they put the title on anyone else than Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, and that means that they have not learned a single thing with what happened with Daniel Bryan. They have not learned a single thing.
No, it's she's winning the title at WrestleMania.
Yeah, she has to.
It's like me and most movies. I read the spoiler and I wait for someone to tell me whether it was good or not. In this instance, it's not going to be very good the rest of the way there.
Yeah.
But the ending will be great, right? And that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited for where we ultimately get. I'm hoping for more. I want people. I think here. So in my brain, I have to try to justify this, right? I have to try to justify this convoluted booking.
Okay.
I'm going to make an attempt. I'm going to make an argument.
Good luck.
My argument is that Becky was losing some of her steam. She came out. She apologized to the authority. She tried to turn her around before Vince McMahon came out and put her on this way. Before that moment, I could make the case that there was a subsection of people, of fans out there that were beginning to sour a little bit on the idea of what we wanted Becky to be and what she was actually portraying on TV were different, right? We were looking for that Stone Cold. I'm not going to put me in this, but you people were looking for that Stone Cold anti-hero, and they're showing a different type of Becky, right? And she was losing a little bit of momentum going into Royal Rumble, but we all wanted the finish to be the same. We all want what that WrestleMania moment is going to be. So what they decided to do was insert Charlotte to create a heel to Ronda's whatever the hell Ronda is. I can't even begin to pretend like I understand. Like, she's supposed to be a face, but everybody hates her. So what is that? It's like the anti-hero. I don't get it. And so they bring her in, and then now everybody's starting to garner like, you can't do this to Becky. It's pretty much that same organic thing that we were talking about at SummerSlam, and we're trying to build, and get the momentum back. But the momentum was never really gone. It's just we're in safe mode. We're just sitting there waiting until we get to WrestleMania. I don't need another month of build. We know where it's going. Let them come out and stare at each other, and then we'll get hyped after Fastlane for what ultimately will be the crowning moment of Becky. And I think they looked at that and they reacted to it. And when they reacted to it, they came up with this nonsense of a storyline for the last 4.5 weeks. That's the best I can do.
Excuse me. I'll even push this a little further. I think they brought Charlotte into this situation because at some point they realized that they're going to have two baby faces fight each other, and they just wanted the security blanket of having a heel in there, right? Because in their mind, up until last week, Ronda Rousey was still a baby face,
smiling with her goofy makeup.
And right up until she had that Twitter spat with Becky that changed everything, where she worked herself into a shoot. Yeah, I think she did. I don't think it's planned. I think she really is pissed. Right up until that moment, she was still the babyface, and that's why Charlotte was inserted in there. Now, if Ronda's a heel, ultimately the presence of Charlotte there is a little superfluous. Because outside the fact that there's an argument to be made that she also deserves to be in the first women's main event first main event women in WrestleMania. How do words work?
First main event for the women of WWE. How about that?
Okay, that's fine. She deserves to be in there for everything she's done, and she's a superstar. She's fantastic. Yeah. There's no argument on my end on that part. So, but outside of that, if you're just going on a purely storyline basis, she has no use in this storyline. Like if your story, because you have your heel, you have your baby face. And the thing is that the minute that Becky decided to go after Ronda became the heel. Mm-hmm. She just, that was it. And it sucks to be Ronda, but that was the moment that they decided you were going ahead with Ronda versus was Becky. There was no way Ronda was going to stay a baby face throughout it all. Excuse me. So I think we're in agreement here again, and chat is as well. Our very active chat this evening, that we have Becky Lynch going over.
Oh no, we're not in agreement.
No,
I think this goes to a no contest.
Oh bullshit! I hate you.
Cluster. Continues.
No.
Yes. There is a finality to this. This is another 2.5, 3 weeks of nonsense that you and I have to deal with, and everybody in the WWE universe has to deal with. I'd like to tell you that Charlotte's going over, but then again, how many times can you bring Becky back out of suspension, out of injury, out of this, out of that? I think that ultimately where it's headed is some type of, I don't even want to call it disqualification because I don't want a winner. I think this is either a no count out or this is a DQ, or not a DQ, some type of they can't match the bell. They go outside and throw each other in a river. I don't know. Pick your poison. But this is ending in a no contest, and this train wreck is going to barrel through the next town. I just think that's where it's going. Strap in, because this road is a bumpy road that we're on to WrestleMania.
I fucking hope Yano wins the New Japan Cup now. I really do.
I'm not wrong. This is a garbage fire.
Oh man. Anyway, people are turning against you in the chat, John. You just dug your own grave.
That's fine. I'm used to it.
All right, final match of the evening. Hopefully the main event. Daniel Bryan, WWE champion, the new Daniel Bryan, WWE champion, versus the returning Kevin Owens. We got to unpack some stuff here first. John, first and foremost. Chat, first and foremost. Even first and foremost on top of John. Chat, let us know who you think is going to win. But talk to me about your feelings, your deep, deep feelings regarding the return of Kevin Owens.
I like him a lot.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it's not just because we're from the same province.
No. He is, he's a triple threat. He can wrestle, he can talk. And there's nothing that he can and can't do in that ring that just yields just excitement from
returns. Yeah.
Right. Oh, and he's great at returns. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, the returns there too. I appreciate a good promo. Always have been a fan of good talkers, and his passion in the ring when he speaks, the way he commands an audience, the way he can captivate people from stop staring at their beer and looking up and paying attention to what the hell's going on at a SmackDown. Sign me up, man. Like, this dude is a plus player in any promotion that he's in. He's proved it for you. There's the little things, the way he yells when he's in a tag team and he's screaming at the opponent, the way he slaps people when he's a heel and calls them out and shows his insecurities as he yells at them. Like, just the things that he does is just so next level compared to a lot of people on the roster. I'm glad he's back. I missed him. I missed the man. Yeah,
and I thought that I'm really fascinated with babyface Kevin Owens. Like, it's just bananas how natural it feels and it works. You know, how he's very sincere, where, you know, Daniel Bryan on Tuesday was like, well, you don't have any friends anymore, Kevin. And he's like, yep, I know. And that's on me. You know, that's my, you know, it's like, yep. and
introspective.
Yeah, I've taken some time off, time to reflect on my career. What have I done?
Right.
Maybe I shouldn't have, seeing all the success he had. Maybe I shouldn't have beaten up Chris Jericho a couple of years ago. Maybe I should have stuck to him, kind of thing. But I'm really happy he came back. I like, honestly, he and Daniel Bryan together has all the potential to be a magic moment. Like, if they give them time, if they give them both the leg room to do stuff, I really think we're in for a treat.
This is the match of the night.
I think
this
so.
will be. I mean, there's more intrigue in Charlotte Becky, and that really is the story of the pay-per-view. I don't take that away from them. But from a wrestling perspective, these two in the ring together is just going to be ridiculous. Owen's going to come back and prove to everybody that he's 100%. He's ready to go. Daniel Bryan can get the best out of everybody that he goes against. We're in for an absolute treat when these two step in the ring together. I can't wait. This, to me, is deserving of a Fastlane main event. I believe it to WrestleMania.
For any kind of main event. Any main event for any show, excuse me.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I think, like, the Fastlane specifically, like, is usually a flat show in general. So to be able to have something like this on it, this is really the staple of this pay-per-view, in my opinion. It's not the most intriguing match, but it will be the most well-executed match, and I can't wait for it.
Well, you see, on the intrigue level, I disagree with, because
you're going to take this over Becky versus Charlotte, though.
Well,
from an intrigue perspective,
the New Day did say during their tour of India that they were going to be at Fastlane this Sunday. Kofi Mania is not dead. John, I know you want to forget about Kofi. I know how you feel about him.
No.
I know. In DMs, John. You keep telling me.
I've got DMs. I can't show them out loud because there's children watching, but there is no.
In the DMs, you share with me. I talk about Kofi Kingston. You send me gifs of people vomiting, and they're legitimate vomiting, not like Hollywood vomit. Like drunk people vomiting on their feet, kind of thing. That's what you send me when we talk about Kofi Kingston. I know you hate him.
Out of excitement. They're happy. They're like, oh my God, I am sick with joy.
But there is the Kofi element. This is not done. And I got to tell you, as far as this booking goes, I'm just going to slide this in here. As far as the booking goes, I know a lot of people were disappointed when Kofi didn't win and when he was pulled from the Fastlane match, but I was like, fantastic. That means that they are going forward with Kofi Kingston at goddamn WrestleMania for the WWE title.
Good.
I was super excited about it. Now, where does Kevin Owens fit in this, John?
He's going to lose clean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to lose clean. Here's why. One, we got the dumpster fire the match before. But two, more importantly, we've seen a lot of good streaks lately. The NXT people coming up, they're getting nice runs. I think you need your champion strong this time of year. If you leave it unsettled with Kevin Owens, that's always going to be in the back of my head during Kofi versus Bryan, and I can't have that. I need closure on Kevin Owens versus Daniel Bryan. I think Kevin Owens is someone that certainly can take the loss, even in his return. He can take the loss against Daniel Bryan in this fashion in a high-profile match that's showing good work ethic. Daniel Bryan, although he's a heel, he's not losing dirty. Or I'm sorry, He's not winning dirty. He's winning clean.
That's true.
So I think you got to continue that narrative. You got to make your champion strong going into WrestleMania. You got to stack the cards against Kofi going in there. You can't have a cheap victory. Maybe it's a roll-up. You know what I mean? It could be a cheeky win. I'm okay with a cheeky win. But it can't be something where there's any type of shenanery. Let's build the story the right way for your champion, for Daniel Bryan going into WrestleMania. Let Kevin Owens lose clean. He'll come back from it just fine, and we press on.
Well, I'm looking forward to this because I think it's the kind of outcome that I would really like as well. Chad also seems to think that the planet's champion is going to retain.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good stuff that might come out of here. People are actually, yeah, some people are suggesting Sami Zayn might get involved. I think it.
I could do that. I mean, I could. I don't like dusty finishes this close when the person isn't even in a real build yet with their opponent at WrestleMania. But I would be okay with that because that would set up Kevin Owens or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anyway, I'm looking forward to this match. Should be a lot of fun. I'm ready to see and you know Kevin Owens is hungry. You know, that's the thing. He's ready. Oh man, and he's in such great shape. Can't wait to see where this goes. Just before we wrap things up, Chat was talking about a tweet that Charlotte Flair put out in response to Ronda saying, talking about the WWE universe, where she says, basically, well, fuck them, everybody, WWE universe included. Wrestling is scripted, it's made up, it's not real. None of those bitches can fucking touch me. The end. Ronda Rousey quote. Charlotte responds to this, getting in on some of this sweet Becky Lynch action, saying, "Can someone please remind Captain Badass here that her last 2 fights before coming to WWE ended with her unconscious and sobbing in the cage? 4 years ago, you were untouchable. Now, not so much. You're a class act, Ronda Rousey." I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's art imitating life, life imitating art. I'm okay with it.
That's absolutely what it is.
Yeah.
So, John, if we're going to wrap this one up, Fastlane, do you expect it? Do you expect it to be a good card? Will we remember it fondly? Will it disappear into the annals of our forgetfulness? Or are we just going to wake up on Monday morning saying to each other, what the hell did we spend our Sunday night doing?
I think it is one of those. It's going to be one of those pay-per-views where you're never going to think about it again. But there's going to be there's going to be 3 or 4 really good moments in it where you're going to sit there and be like, I got to go back and watch that match. So you're not going to watch the pay-per-view again. You're not going to remember Fastlane 2019 and, oh, my God, But it is one of those ones where you'll go back and be like, God, that Kevin Owens Daniel Bryan match was good. Let me go back and rewatch that. You know what I mean? Let me go watch that triple threat tag team Raw champion tag team match.
Exactly.
Like that's what this will be.
I agree. I think there will be a couple of sleeper matches, but I mean, there's so much that's going to be set up for, like, it's going to feel like a power version of Raw. It's going to feel like a really good edition of Raw. That's what it's going to feel like, and I'm okay with that.
Oh, totally. I gotta be honest with you. Outside of Backlash, Backlash was terrible. But outside of Backlash,
except for Miz versus Seth, Miz
you're
versus
right.
Seth
you're right.
was excellent.
Right. Excellent. High praise. But overall, I gotta give WWE credit. They've really shown up for their pay-per-views this year. As a whole, overall, in totality, this has been one of the benchmark years for pay-per-views in a very long time for WWE. So I give them all the credit in the world. And I expect that to continue with Fastlane.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I think we're on the right track. So, John, I want to thank you for joining me. Let the good folks know, before we end this stream, where they can find you, where they can subscribe to you, where they can follow you. Virtually, of course. We don't necessarily want you to go find John and follow him wherever he goes. That'd be weird, folks. Guys, girls, that'd be weird.
People don't like that. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me on, Warren. Out of the blue, I appreciate you thinking of me for something like a prediction show. That's awesome of you. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, man.
You can find me on Twitter at Big Paws on a Pup, as well as at NPA Podcast. I drop a new podcast every Wednesday for no particular angle, where we talk about different things in wrestling, both speculating, clever conversation on today's events in wrestling, as well as speculating out what can happen in wrestling in any medium of wrestling, whether it be shows, storylines, or just current events. On top of that, I also do a show on called The Card with At Will for Watches, where we talk about everything non-WWE wrestling. GCW, Stardom, MLW, things of that nature. You can follow us there at the card as well. And then every Monday for the foreseeable future, me, Warren, and Anthony from Smart to Death are going to be doing our bracketeering of New Japan Cup live stream on the Smart to Death YouTube, as I proved to them that once and for all, when it comes to New Japan, they can't touch me.
First and foremost, I wouldn't want to touch you regardless. Second of all,
lies. I've seen your DMs. Your DMs.
Second of all, it is going to be a good time. We're going to be doing this for the duration of the New Japan Cup. We did a bracketeering. Is it bracketology? Bracketeering? Bracketeering feels illegal, whereas bracketology feels like a science.
I like bracket boys, Blazer bracket boys, but I got no love for that. I got no love from that from any of you.
We did that show. Was it last Sunday? Right.
It was Sunday.
It was Sunday on the Smart to Death YouTube channel, so you can check that out. YouTube.com/Smart to Death. We're going to keep doing those, updating the brackets, and then readjusting our predictions as we go along. Should be really exciting stuff. John, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join me this evening. Guys, if you're new here, if this is the first time you pop in, consider a subscription. That'd be nice. We do all sorts of great things here at the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. So, and there's some surprising stuff coming up too. Ooh, surprises are fun. But hope everyone has a great Fastlane. Thank you everyone for joining this evening, and we will see you soon.